Okay, so week 3, I'm going to add a project folder here. These would be the, I've downloaded the week 3 files from Blackboard, and we should have a CSS folder, an images folder, and an index template. So I'll open up the folder in my code editor and open up index.html. So we're going to continue on here with our discussion about formatting text and documents and the HTML document. So open up. Also, we'll open up the file, the same HTML file in our desktop. 3 index. So we've got this open up. So here we have a few, just some interesting text about a variety of different knots. And some other kind of tangentially related information and some other interesting tidbits. So we're going to use this kind of loose collection of text as our kind of learning platform, if you will. So we open up index.html. We'll head over to step number 1. So this would be somewhere around about line 28. So throughout the text document, we have blocks of text that might be appropriately marked up as paragraphs. So this here we have a paragraph, so I will surround this with the paragraph tags, and anywhere else. So we can just kind of move through the document here. We'll look at some other paragraph elements here. Oh, here's one here. So, and this one's already got a paragraph around it, so that's fine. Here's a collection of text. Looks like it could use a paragraph. Here's one that has one already, so, and a few paragraphs at the end. That's good. So, paragraph, probably one of the most common HTML elements around. So, let's head over to step number 2. Step 2 is somewhere around about line 68. So we're going to add, so this is down at near the bottom of the page. And we have here, if you look at the bottom of the page, here we have copyright information, right? And some other kind of little bits of attributions and special thanks and so on and so forth. So this is all kind of, it's kind of fine print. So the way we identify fine print in a document is to surround the text with the small element. So small has kind of been repurposed in HTML to delineate or to denote fine print. So surprises, save that. And if we reload the page here, you'll notice that the default styles shrink this down here. We can control that in the style sheet to make that a little different, or make it smaller, or a different font size. But certainly, that's how you delineate small text and fine print. So probably all of these other things here, these might also be. You might have some of these other bits of content might also be fine print. I'll leave that up to you. Think about what's the most appropriate. So great, fine print. Let's go over to step 3, where we're going to look at importance or emphasis. So sometimes as we read along through a sentence, we'll encounter a word that we want to, if you can imagine reading it aloud, you might want to add some sort of audible emphasis or spoken emphasis to the word. So for this case, when lines are of unequal diameter or rigidity, it is necessary for security to double the sheet bend. So I want to emphasize that word. So I simply surround the word or phrase that I wish to emphasize with the EM element. And that is, so this is in line with the other, with the other words inside the sentence. So this is, so M is, we refer to this as an inline element. The older cousin of the emphasis element is the strong emphasis element. So this is where we would, there'd be similarly a string of text that we would like to really emphasize. So the free ends should end up on the same side of the knot for maximum strength. So I want to really drive this one home. So I would say, let's strongly emphasize the phrase maximum strength. And if you're not sure about this, read the content aloud in your mind, and that will also help you out to some degree. All right, step 4. Add a figure. So if you can imagine, in a magazine or some kind of print media, very often there's some sort of a diagram or an illustration or a photograph, but more often than not, there's some sort of caption at the bottom of the illustration or image that explains why this is significant, or maybe attributes the photographer or something like that. So we have such an element in HTML. So imagine here we have this image here of the figure 8 knot. So that exists. Where's my figure 8? This is it here, the figure 8 knot. So this is, we want to kind of somehow put a caption underneath this and treat this kind of as its own unit. So what we do is we go ahead here and we surround the whole image with the figure element. Like so. Okay, and that doesn't do anything in and of itself. What it does is it kind of, you can see this image kind of sits in line with this other text. As soon as I surround it with the figure element, it kind of sits on its own line. So it kind of gives, the figure is kind of a block level element. It kind of forces a line break after and and before the element, so it has a little bit more importance semantically on the page. So now inside the figure element, I want to have the image itself, and then after that I want to put in a caption. This is identified with the fig caption element. So inside the fig caption, I might put illustration by, in this case it's Gerald G. So I might put Gerald G. Like that. Okay, so notice also that I'm taking great care to format my code. So the image element and the fig caption element are both nested inside the figure tags. So as to that end, I've added an additional tab just so you can look at the kind of the left margin and identify a kind of compound nature of that structure. So save that, and we'll see here when we reload the page. There's the caption sitting underneath the figure. All of this can be, of course, modified using style sheets, but we're just kind of building in the basic semantics of the content. So there we go. That is a figure and a caption. Let's move on to step 5. And step 5 is somewhere around about line 59. So a citation or reference. So anytime we're referring to a known work, like a book, a manuscript, a famous old movie, some sort of well-recognized or maybe not so well-recognized kind of reference, body of knowledge or material, we would cite that. So we surround then, in this case we have a book here by Clifford Ashley, and so what we would do is we would surround the book name with the CIT, end of CITE element as such. So what this does is it just kind of indicates that we are citing the name or so this phrase is in fact the title of a work of literature or some sort of piece of media. So and this gives us also a bit more, gives the content a bit more meaning, and you may be rewarded with some of these search phrases may have more value, greater value from a search bot perspective. So if we reload the page here, we'll first find here's the Ashley Book of Knots. So I reload that, and you'll see that the Ashley Book of Knots now is kind of italicized. We can change that, and that's just the basic styles. It just more or less to let you know that there is indeed something special about that phrase. So that's great, and perhaps we might even surround this entire thing with a paragraph element. So this this here being a paragraph in and of itself, containing a reference to another work which we have cited. So save that. Step 6, right below here. If we, when considering this book here, if we were to quote or grab a block of text, one or more paragraphs, say, or maybe larger sections, we're looking to maybe reproduce or redistribute a kind of a section of content. We would use something called the block quote element. So that's exactly what it sounds. Oh, I've already left in the end of block quote tag. There you go. That block quote element would surround a number, sometimes paragraphs or lists or some other elements, and this indicates that this entire block of content is a quote. It's taken from elsewhere. The way to kind of attribute that content is we would use something called the cite attribute inside the start block quote tag, and in here we would have a URL or address, ashleyknots.com. I just kind of made that up. I don't know if that even exists, but this is a kind of an address here to a very specific URL, giving the visitor some sort of indication where this came from. The browser may or may not do anything useful with that, but it may in future, so it's kind of future-proofing our code. So here we go. You'll notice that the block quote kind of it has kind of indentation, so it's there's kind of a bit of some padding or margin that applied to both sides, so it kind of stands out a little bit. There isn't really any kind of way to access the cite attribute, but some browsers may do something with that in the future, but it's considered good practice. So step 7. Oh no! Before we're done, step 6. The other thing is this is a rather large block of text. So if we have a smaller block, and in this case it's going to be right inside this paragraph. Imagine we say, we've got here the first sentence that Ashley says, comma, this book describes every practical knot, what it looks like, so on and so forth. So we're attributing this phrase or this sentence in here. We're attributing this to Ashley, the author, Clifford Ashley. So what I would do is I would surround this text within the paragraph itself with a Q element, and this goes all the way to the end of so all of this text here that I've highlighted is actually we're actually attributing this to Ashley, Clifford Ashley. So we surround that and we hit file save, and the interesting thing about that, when we then I reload the page, so here's the beginning of the quote, here's the end of the quote. If you watch carefully when I refresh this, the browser applies smart quotations. So, and I can zoom in and I can show you. So here, where do we go here? Yeah, we've got kind of like these, and you can see that you can't even highlight, you can't even select them, but they're generated. So the smart quotations are applied around that inline quotation. That's the Q element. So there we go. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and do some more, mark this text up a little bit more, and add even more meaning to the code.